Welcome to section 4.3, Intro to Polynomials. First, we're going to talk about the types of polynomials. The first one I wrote is monomial, an expression in the form of ax to the n power, where a is a real number and n is non-negative number. So, an example of a monomial is you can have, say, 3x to the fourth or 6x to the seventh power. Or another example is like negative 2x to the fifth power or negative 4x to the third power. Now, those are examples of a monomial or one terms. So let me separate these two. An example of not a monomial is when, for example, say 5x to the negative fourth power. This is not a monomial because it has a negative exponent. So again, n has to be non-negative. Another term for positive. So you see, these example has positive exponents. So these can be monomials. Now this one cannot because it has a negative exponent, meaning n has to be a positive exponent. So this cannot. So make sure to tell the difference. These can be monomials because your exponents are positive, even though your bases, let me underline your bases, or also known as coefficient, they can be positive or negative because they are real numbers. This is not a monomial because n, your exponent, this one is negative when it's supposed to be a non-negative number for a monomial. Next, we're going to talk about binomials. So binomials means two terms. An example of two terms can be written such as 4x minus 1 or negative 7x plus 3. So again, binomial means two terms. So here's 1, 2, 1, 2. Again, bi means two terms, or binomial means two terms, or the prefix bi means two. Next, we're going to talk about trinomial. That means three terms. An example of trinomial, or three terms, could be, say, negative 2x squared plus 5x plus 9. So if you look closely, you see how this is one term, this is a second term, and this is a third term. So tri means three terms. So when I'm talking about these binomial and trinomial, it still falls under the definition of monomial, an expression in the form of axn, where a is a real number and n is non-negative. Look closely, you see how all the exponents are positive. Be mindful, and remember, 4x has an invisible 1 exponent, just like in 4.1, invisible 1, invisible 1, invisible 1. And again, all exponents are non-negative, or in another term, positive. So for a expression where it's more than three terms, we call that polynomials. So polynomial means many terms. An expression where it's more than 3. So an example of a polynomial could be written as, say, 5x to the third minus 7x squared plus 8x minus 11. So you see how we have 4 terms, more than 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 terms, that's more than 3. Many or poly means more than 3 or many terms. And again, notice how the exponents are all positive, meaning non-negative, including the 8x to the power of invisible 1. So that's what these types are, these 4. Monomial means one term where in the form of axn or ax to the nth power, where a is a real number and n is non-negative. Following that definition, binomial means 2 terms, as you can see how I underlined. Trinomial means 3 terms, as the example where I underlined 3 times. And polynomial means many terms, where I underlined more than 3 times. So make sure you're familiar with these terms, as you will be asked what type of term this will be given an expression. Alright, the next part we're going to talk about is called coefficient. So let me write the word coefficient. C-O-E-F-F-I-C-I-E-N-T-S. Coefficient are the numbers that are in front of the variable. So let me underline them. -9, +4, -12, -7, and +3. These are all coefficient. So -9 because it's in front of the x to the 7th power. +4 because it's in front of x to the 6th. -12 because it's in front of x to the 5th. -7 because it's in front of x squared. And then +3 because it's in front of x. So this is what I mean when you want to hear me refer or say the term coefficient. For example, if I say, what is the coefficient in front of x to the 6th, you should say 4. And then another question would be, what is the coefficient in front of x squared, you should say -7. And then lastly, if I ask you, what is the coefficient in front of x to the 7th, you should say -9. So that's what's going to mean, or what you have to do if you were to identify the coefficient. And the reason is because now we're going to go into the leading degree and the leading coefficient. So again, coefficient, and this should be in your notes, coefficient is the number that is in front of the variables. Now in this example, I'm using x, but be mindful that there could be other variables to be used. Like this could have been m to the 7th, this could have been b to the 6th power, this could be h to the 5th power, this could be s to the 2nd power, or this could have been y. So it's not just x, it could be any other letters used as variables. But be mindful that coefficient is in front of the variable.